promise I'm gonna speak up when I hop about to cut. I promise I'm gonna speak up when I hop about to cut. I promise I'm gonna speak up when I hop about to cut. I promise I'm gonna make a scene. Got lights, cameras, action, but I promise that I won't be seen.
My name is Theodore.
My name is
and I am
Markeisha.
about 8 years old.
You 8?
And I'm 10.
9 years.
I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and PTSD.
Okay, do you recall what happened 6 years ago?
Okay.
I got taken away.
I don't really remember.
It felt like I was fighting a losing battle.
I felt sad, mad.
If there was one thing that you could tell a child going through the same
I just
thing.
wanted
Okay,
to
what's the
fit in.
hardest part about it? Easiest part to deal with?
There was a lot of obstacles, but I overcame them.
Children, just know that it will be alright.
Before I begin telling my story, I must give warning that this story may potentially trigger some people who have similar background stories and current situations. I cried reflecting on the past event. However, if we can find the strength to get through this story, you may find some valuable information throughout my story. If you don't think you can, I understand, and you don't have to endure the agony, guilt, or the emotions. Just remember you're strong and will come out victorious if you never give up. You can still leave questions in the comments, and I will try to help you even if you can't continue. Those were the only moments I could rest in peace, because everything else was restless, painful. The house once filled with laughter and the pitter-patter of little feet, now filled with echoes of what used to be an empty shell. I knew I wouldn't make it to 30 moving like this. The way I lived like I didn't care, but I did. The way I crossed the street without checking for cars. The way I couldn't sleep more than 10 minutes a day. The way I chose to do repairs on the house instead of eating. But I wasn't even allowed to die. People used to tell me to pray about it. I never did. They told me, think about my children. I always did. Music used to be my way of expression, so I wrote a song about it in the beginning. It released barely any of the hurt, but it wasn't enough. I played music to relate to the pain. It used to work to fix my emotions, but it didn't work this time. Nothing worked. Art didn't work to release the pain. Working on the house was only a distraction. I mostly let anxiety run the show, but sometimes depression was king. At some point, I developed a major toothache and I started taking medication. And I usually did not take medication unless I really couldn't stand the pain. But in my mindset, I was not keeping in track of the amount. This was one of the times my daughter's dad came to check on me and I was in discomfort, and it let me know I took way too many. When he came, I was laying in the middle of the floor, ridden with depression. The toothache was subsiding, but my stomach was hurting, and I asked him to take me to the hospital. He said he had to do something first, then he'd come back. When he got back, we went to the ER. I immediately went to check in, telling the receptionist about the toothache, and explained that I believe I took too much medication, but I wasn't trying to overdose. She seemed like she understood, but I knew she saw the other issue I was having with my mental health, the thing that I did not mention, and with that, I was escorted to another section of the hospital, and by the glass surrounding the desk, I knew. And a part of me knew I needed to be there. So when the doctor came out, we spoke. At the end of the discussion, I was given a choice. I could go back voluntarily or involuntarily. And I had already decided I was going back, so I asked what the difference was. The difference was, if I go back voluntarily, I could leave if it didn't benefit me. However, with involuntary, they would release me when they saw fit. Of course, like I said, I went back. I wasn't going to make it to 30 if I didn't, so I followed the doctor to the back.
I shine so bright, you